But it's also important that we have a diverse set of use cases to really show what's possible, because nothing builds confidence and awareness more than seeing solution live in action.
Welcome to How AI Happens, a podcast where experts explain their work at the cutting edge of artificial intelligence. You'll hear from AI researchers, data scientists, and machine learning engineers as they get technical about the most exciting developments in their field and the challenges they're facing along the way. I'm your host, Rob Stevenson, and we're about to learn how AI happens. Here with me today on How AI Happens is a man with tons of experience in the AI space. He was a managing director of architecture as well as robotics transformation and the SVP of Business Transformation, Lean Robotics and AI over at State Street. Currently, he is the managing director over at the BNY Mellon AI Hub. Mike Demissie. Mike, welcome to the show. How the heck are you today?
Good to be with you, Rob. Nice to be with you.
Yeah, really pleased to have you here on a Monday morning. Thanks for taking the time to do this. Loads to talk about because BNY Mellon has a ton of awesome applications of AI that you can explain to us. But this company's been around for a long time, right? Founded by the $10 founding father, Alexander Hamilton,
That's right.
No less. And so I'm always really interested when companies like this that have been around a while are also technologizing and adapting to the fast-moving pace we're in, as opposed to startups that come out of the gate with AI. Lots more legacy things to change and probably a lot harder to institute AI at a legacy company that's much bigger than it is at a startup. And that's what I'm kind of looking forward to talk with you about today. But before we get there, would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself, your background, and kind of how you wound up in this current role?
Sure thing, Rob. I started out my career actually as an engineer, and my first opportunity was building hydrogen-powered electric cars, which is quite different from what I do today, but that was an amazing experience. And have had the good fortune of working on emerging technology, emerging capabilities in different industries over the course of my career till what you find me today. But there was a common thread along the way, which has been I've always been really fascinated and interested in new technology in an applied manner. So not just in a theoretical, abstract way, but how can you use them in the best possible way and actually bring them to life, which is what I did in my first foray in building out hydrogen-powered cars, and what we do today, applying AI in financial services. So it's an awesome opportunity to be in, and you're constantly learning and new capabilities, making good use out of them. So that's the makeup of the team. So our goal is twofold. One, apply this powerful capability across the organization to solve problems that matter for our clients and our employees. And two, make it easier for the rest of the organization to tap into this capability in a responsible way. So that means finding the right tooling, the right governance, the right framework, and mechanisms actually from opportunity identification to solution building to implementation as well. So that's the mission of the central enterprise team. And with the expectation that in a not too distant future, this capability is going to be embedded in everything that we do. So really, we're laying the foundation and showing by doing so we can get there faster in the most responsible way.
Gotcha. What about the Mike Demissie of it all? Where do you come in?
So given we have these very diverse, complementary set of businesses across the organization, it's really important that we have one cohesive approach on this very powerful, transformative technology and capability, how we are going to charter it across the organization. So my role in that is really assembling that central team that allows us to demonstrate that in a credible way, help our colleagues actually see the opportunities in their respective organizations and functions, and be effective and actually transform our services for our clients, taking advantage of these amazing capabilities in our hands. So that's my role, and really inspiring folks and getting the right practitioners at the right problem sets so we can be ready for our clients tomorrow.
I want to ask you a little bit about your role specifically, just because it's an exciting time to be in the AI space. We're seeing lots of different ways to bring the skill set to market, whether it's on the IC side, in engineering or in data science, what have you. Your leadership role is interesting to me too, and I was hoping you could kind of explain a little bit about To
Sure.
quote Office Space, what is it you'd say you do here? How would you kind of characterize your role?
Sure. Maybe before I dive into that, it's probably just for the audience's benefit, just to give a little bit of context about BNY Mellon as a firm. As you said, founded by Alexander Hamilton. So we've been around for a long time, 239 years to be exact. And, for us to really be there for our clients, we need to continue to innovate. So it's something that we truly see as a core, as part of our DNA. And when you look at us as a firm, we play a unique role in financial markets. We touch more than 20% of the world's investable assets. We're the largest custodian with more than 46 trillion assets under custody or administration, as well as the sole clearing agent for U.S. government securities. That's more than $10 trillion every single day. Our payment business alone processes more than $2.5 trillion of worth of transactions every single day. So everything that we do it at scale. And behind all these transactions and all these activities, our clients looking for insights, how we can actually help them to make more data-driven decisions. And that's how we see our role increasingly with these capabilities, where they would take us. So our clients and us will be able to make more data-driven decisions with AI. And that's why we're quite excited about that. So we have a central team that is really finding the right problem statements across the organization to apply these emerging capability, but at the same time, demystify the capability, make it real for people, see what it can do, so we can really actually identify even more and more opportunities across the services that we offer.
Who comprises the enterprise AI team? Like, what kind of skill sets make up the core of the team?
Sure. Building AI solutions is very much a team sport. So you need experts across many disciplines. So at the heart of it, we have data scientists, and these are specialists, typically with advanced math and science degrees, who with a solid grasp of state-of-the-art algorithms in the space. You also need domain experts with deep understanding of the underlying business, the controls, the processes, the KPIs. And you need product and design experts who play an important role in identifying the unmet needs, outlining a solution, and being able to envision the best experience for the end user as well. So that's an important role. You also need experts in data as well as engineering who can really find the right way to connect to the right sources and applications and deploy these solutions as well. Another important role I should mention is model risk management, which is people who have similar expertise from an understanding of the data science, who can help us actually scrutinize, do independent validations of these solutions before they go to production as well. So it really is very much a team sport. So you have all these different folks. Not all of them need to sit in the central team. For instance, the model risk is an independent function that sits in second line. But you really need everyone to take an AI solution from an idea to implementation.
Since it sounds like this team's product, if you will, is solutions for within the business, they can maybe even run like a business within the business, right? If they are serving like lots of different areas of the company in ways that other departments tend not to, right? Their departments, tend to be a little siloed and have less interplay just as a base, as like the base quality of their existence, I guess. This team goes all over the business. So it's curious that they can kind of operate in this way. And I think it's kind of exciting. Like you have like this internal consultancy. If you were on this team, you get a different kind of challenge every day. And it sounds like your directive, if you're on this team, is just like go out and find ways to make people's lives easier using various AI and ML tools. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say. I think it encompasses many aspects. One part of it is really identifying the right opportunities, as you said, Rob, to deploy this capability and solve problems that really matter, that matter for our clients, that matter for our employees. It also means building that solution. So there's going to be, the data scientists that I spoke of earlier would need to look at whatever is available in their arsenal and see what's the best way actually to build the solution and deploy it in a scalable fashion. The engineers need to really find a way in terms of, okay, look, how are we going to stitch together the various applications, to run it in the most optimal way. So it is not only the opportunity identification, but also developing the solution and deploying it and making sure there's a sustained model to take care of it afterwards, after production as well. So you can go after the next new challenge. maybe that, one way to kind of just bring it to life is, can share with you some of the use cases, for instance, that we've been, working on. As I mentioned, everything that we do being at scale. If you look at, for instance, one of our solution, it is an AI-assisted trade settlement analytics. A small fraction of trades generally fail to settle on time, but that's a costly proposition for clients. There are potential fines in certain markets. So, given that we process more than 100 million trades, any given year, we felt we had, sufficient data that we can actually look into for any underlying patterns that would help us identify whether a trade is likely not to settle on time, so you can take action. And that's exactly what we've done. So we have an AI solution that gives clients a real-time insight, which trade may be having, risk of settlement issue. And this allows them to actually take action instead of finding about the fact, after the fact, and avoid, costly settlement failures. So that's one. We're also using predictive analytics, for our own use internally. We have several solutions focused on a segment that we call AI-assisted liquidity management. This is enhancing our forecasting abilities to make better, informed investment decisions, how we manage deposits and other things. And this is, liquidity management forecasting is a familiar challenge for clients as well. And our clients are actually looking to leverage what we have built for our own use. And that's something that we're actively exploring as we speak. Changing gears a little bit, giving you a completely different example, we have an AI-assisted securities lending solution. This is helping our traders determine optimal pricing for, to generate more yield for our clients, because we, one of the roles that we play is lending those assets on their behalf so they can generate additional income. And being able to have insight on the price movement allows us, to do that, at a higher utilization. So there's endless use of, opportunities. And every time we deploy each of these solutions, that actually sparks ideas and new opportunities in that line of business. So to your point earlier, that really becomes a connecting thread across the organization.
Given that there's endless opportunity, how does the team prioritize and decide where to spend its time?
That's a very good question. And it's actually, not an easy challenge. I think going back to the heart of it, opportunity identification, it's a very much a collaboration effort between the AI practitioners, the product specialists, engineers, and other team members. And in all cases, we ask upfront, what's the value of the solution? What would be different? How would it work? What would you do with that? For instance, predictive signal. And what happens when it doesn't work? That's also an important thing that we have to have an answer for. What controls do you need to have in place? So we scrutinize all of that upfront, and it's a very much a hypothesis-based iterative process in terms of how we identify the opportunities and prioritize the right ones with emphasis on impact. We have a framework that gives our partners, our stakeholders, guidance on the type of problem patterns these capabilities tackle. I mentioned a few of them in the predictive analytics space. There are capabilities in anomaly detection, so you can really actually find something unusual in large amount of data that can help you to manage risk better. There are capabilities that help you to process unstructured and large volume of information that may be coming to us. It can be client instructions, inquiries, how you can really get to the heart of it and action it as well. But it's also important that we have a diverse set of use cases to really show what's possible, because nothing builds confidence and awareness more than seeing solution live in action. So we're very intentional about that as well.
That is a really interesting piece because it's so clear to the individuals developing it, or you, for example, why someone should want this solution or why the solution works. You have the challenge of, you mentioned earlier, making sure that it is utilized properly. It doesn't just become, shelfware, so to speak. And then also there is like this need for internal PR kind of, because again, like the people listening to this podcast and the people who work on this kind of tech understand intimately why it's so good. But then, your other people in non-technical departments or who have not really seen what this can do might still need a little bit of convincing. So what is that process like for you? How are you kind of going on that internal PR to make sure people understand and see the opportunity in the same way that your team does?
That's really an important part of the journey. We talk about it as a demystifying this capability. And the best way to we find ourselves to demystify it is actually talk about what problems it solves. It's really not about the technical jargon or how the sausage is made. There would be a small segment of the population that would be interested in that, and we make all the resources available for if people want to dive in deeper. But really abstracting that away and talking to people where they are and say, this powerful capability, here's what it would mean in your specific area. Here are the type of problems actually that we managed to solve. And having that continuous engagement, we really find it to be quite helpful. And we've been getting similar feedback from our colleagues across the company. Not only it's important to just raise the level of awareness and education for everyone involved, but you can also tap into the domain expertise of folks, regardless of where they sit in the organization, because once they understand it, they can actually better guide you. They can guide you better in terms of where it can be used as well. So it really, and we're seeing, so the fruit of that is actually more and more problem statements, impactful problem statements, and we're seeing that list grow by, every month, and it's something that we continue to invest in. So you're absolutely right. Demystifying and really just making this abstract capability real for people is an important part of the practice as well.
You mentioned for those people who do care how the sausage gets made, you do also provide the resources for people to go check out. What does that typically look like?
Yes, so it's a combination of access to our practitioners, actually, where you can really come to and really go at a much more technical level how a solution is built. So you have that. We do host what we call these, this for our community of practice. So everyone in the company can join. These are free forums. Some of them are tailored towards the business audience. Some are more on the technical side of things. And you can self-select in terms of which one you want to go to. So if you're curious about getting into this algorithm selection, what are the trade-offs, that people are making? What are we excited about, actually, some of the emerging capabilities like Gen AI? It's almost impossible to talk about AI and not go into Gen AI these days. Then there are places where you can go to and do that. At the same time, we also encourage our community, practitioners across the organization to share, because each of us, come across useful insight, a different perspective, a different point of view, and we really find it valuable to really actually have that debate, that discussion as well. So there are ways for people to share different papers, different insights and lectures, or even some events that are happening that so everyone can tap into that as well. So that's really an important piece of us continuing to stay current, which is essential in this fastly evolving space.
So for those of you out there who had generative AI on your How AI Happens podcast bingo card, you can go ahead and mark that off. But it is everywhere right now, like you say. And I'm curious, is BNY Mellon going to be utilizing it?
Look, it's very early days. I think if I take a step back, there's really good reasons behind the excitement about generative AI, right? Like, when you think of it, it's really trained on general knowledge, making it, very versatile across domains, and it's very multidimensional. And you can make it intelligent on your specific domain, on your proprietary data sets, and make it very powerful assistant. And LLMs, large language models, have revolutionized, how we interact with AI, right? We can simply ask question in a natural language way and get an answer. Being able to engage AI conversationally, has made it more accessible. And, its public availability is democratizing AI access and utilization. So there's really good reasons why people are excited about it. And you can count us in that category as well. So recognizing still is early days, we see the potential, for it to enhance BNY Mellon products and services in a number of ways, and it can enhance our clients and employees' experience as well. So we have we have a growing list of actually potential use cases, including, streamlining knowledge management capabilities, making content easily accessible for employees or clients. And, you can imagine this can be done for training purposes, for customer support and others. Assisting our engineering efforts in coding, right? Like it can do really a remarkable job and it can accelerate that effort in application development. Being able to summarize and distill down information for actionable insights. Again, it can accelerate those type of activities as well. And also generating first drafts of various types of documents. So we are really excited about the possibilities. We're exploring it in a very deliberate, risk managed way, so we can really get the fruit of this type of capability, but also being mindful of what any incremental risks it introduces and how we can manage that better.
I'm glad you said first draft, because that to me assumes like, okay, it's not published ready. It's not ready to stamp and print. Like, let's put a human in this loop and make sure this is good. However, the fear-based AI headline du jour is that language learning models are creating this content that is now going out on the internet. And now AI generated content is becoming part of the corpus training those same models, and they can't seem to tell it apart. Are you following this narrative at all?
Yes, yes.
So I guess I don't really have a question, but I kind of just wanted to have you react to that. It sounds like when you said like we're looking at a first draft here, you are, wary of this possibility for you don't want this generative to just like run rampant. But outside of BNY Mellon, I'm curious on your take on that. Is there some kind of guardrail you could foresee that would be like, hey, how do you stop an AI from training itself on its own output?
Look, it's any powerful capability, you really have to think about what are the proper guardrails that need to be in place, right? And some of those guardrails may be, fairly obvious for everyone to see. For instance, how the need for us to control against bias in terms of, like the data that can be powering, these type of solutions. So we always talk about the responsible use of AI, and so we're very mindful of in terms of, what that we need to be aware of those risks and put the right guardrails in place. I don't think we have all the answers today in terms of what those things would be, because as we talked about earlier, we're still discovering what are the potential applications of it, what are the potential uses of it. And when you do that, then you would have to look at and you have to ask yourself in terms of what can go wrong, what can go off rails, and what are the mechanisms that you would need to put in place, to protect yourself against that. In enterprise applications, the very common theme is we always talk about it as an assistant. So it really implies there is a human in the loop. It really is just accelerating, increasing our productivity, but we have the right controls and guardrails to make sure, like the decision making and everything else is checked and you have the right checks and balances in place. But when you're talking about the future, how this capability can evolve, I don't think we have all the answers. I think it just requires all of us to keep asking the questions, having the right dialogue, bringing the constituents, and finding what those right guardrails would be. So that's what we value and something we'd like to see more of.
This is a challenge because someone like you and a company like BNY Mellon cares enough to put up those guardrails and to really understand the way technology is taking shape. But just a random person with a Midjourney account is probably not, right? It's kind of impossible to just ensure everyone using this technology has the sort of respect for it. So I don't know if I have a question here. It's just a problem. It's like with large organizations like BNY Mellon, I am a little more assured. But when it just gets into the hands of the public, who knows how someone is going to push that button.
That's why we need to continue to have this dialogue, and whether it is from a regulatory standpoint in terms of accountability, for firms, that are putting products out there. So there's multiple ways to tackle that. But I think it's the right time to have that dialogue and discussion at this point to really just protect ourselves, from the downsides of these powerful applications that can also do a lot of good and can solve, a lot of challenges that we have in across society.
Yeah, of course. Well, Mike, we are creeping up on optimal podcast length here. And at this point, we just say thank you so much for being here. This has been really, really fun having you. Before I let you go, I just want to ask one more thing. For the folks out there forging their careers in the AI, ML, data science, etc. space, what advice would you give to them?
Sure. The first one is really the curiosity and continuing to learn. Remember, still is day one. As much as all the talk that is out there, we're still figuring out the best way to navigate and the best way to apply this capability. So continue to explore that. Two, let's have bold visions. And a lot of times with these type of transformative capabilities, the first thing that may come to mind may be some incremental changes, but the capability can do far more than those incremental changes. Just take us back to, the early days of the internet, right? So if you look at the initial applications, they were basically trying to replicate whatever we had in bricks and mortar into the online world, and not necessarily completely imagining what can be possible, what new models, what new offerings can be made possible with the internet. I would say it's the same thing with AI as well. So I think we need to really just explore beyond the immediate future in terms of where it can take us as well. So be bold and explore this capability. And the third piece is it's really, really important to going back to the piece that we talked about, to have an expansive view and asking yourself what can go wrong and how can we protect ourselves, how can we really do the right thing for society, just regardless of where we sit. So I think that's not a responsibility we can outsource and just give it to one government entity or regulatory body. I think it's on all of us as practitioners to find the right way of using these capabilities. So that would be my third ask, Rob.
That is great advice, Mike. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing a little bit about what's going on over there at BNY Mellon and just your general takes on the space. I've loved learning from you today, so thanks for being here.
Thank you, Rob.
How AI Happens is brought to you by Sama. Sama provides accurate data for ambitious AI. Specializing in image, video, and sensor data annotation and validation for machine learning algorithms in industries such as transportation, retail, e-commerce, media, medtech, robotics, and agriculture. For more information, head to sama.com.